I have a dream.
It's one small step for man.
I am the greatest.
You want something, go get it. Period.
The dream is to meet 10,000 people for 1 hour each, which is just part of a bigger dream of creating my own path in life. Like, I've always wanted to structure my life like an adventure, and for me this is the biggest adventure that I can go on. The biggest thing is that no one knows what they're doing in life. Everyone's just doing the best that they can with the resources that they have.
What's up, my fellow dreamers, doers, achievers? This is episode number 16 of the Dream Big & Co. podcast. And yes, that was the man himself, Rob Lawless, as I would like to phrase it, the king of connection. And I say that because he is connecting and growing deeper in his relationships with a wide variety of people from around the globe, here starting in the United States. And to give you a rundown on who he is and what he's doing, he has truly been and continues to be the epitome of someone following their dreams. I was first connected with him through a good friend of mine, and seeing what he was doing, I immediately had to not only talk to him, but meet up with him, for us to have a conversation and both, in a way, get to interview each other and hear each other's stories. I know for a fact his invaluable advice and his story and his journey is going to resonate with a lot of you. Through the ebbs and flows of life, he left the corporate life and now finds himself meeting someone new every day. He even said up to 4 people. For his journey, he has set out on a quest to meet 10,000 people. No time frame, no rush, just him having an adventure with that childlike spirit in himself. And he is truly, truly bringing the world closer together, one person at a time. He is doing what his goal is set out to be, human connection and bringing the world closer. And so far, Rob has met over 2,200 people in 2+ years. I got the privilege of being number 2203, and in terms of his audience and some broadcasting he has done, he has been featured in the Philadelphia Magazine, Philadelphia Citizen, Philadelphia Weekly, multiple podcasts, and even got the chance to talk to Ryan Seacrest. So through all he's doing, just a quick shout out and thank you to Rob himself. He is truly someone special, and I'm sure you'll understand that and hear that in the episode. But to get right into it, I wanted to give you some housekeeping things. We were in a cafe, and there is some background noise, but it's not that much of a nuisance and not that loud. I think the content and importance of the conversation will override that, and it is fine because it's funny. It's human connection. There's people around us, so it kind of fits the element in a way. It's episode number 16, and for the quote that we have today, it is by Ralph Waldo Emerson when he said, "Adopt the pace of nature, her secret is patience." Adopt the pace of nature, her secret is patience. And for our sponsor today, we want to talk about Stu-Nited. STUNITED. You know, being an ambassador myself, I see such a need for this, and being in college, I see such an opportunity for Stu-Nited to fill a void. They're an app and a service that connects students based on what they're good at and what they need help in. So, for instance, if I was bad at math, which, in a way I kind of am, and you were good at math, we can connect, and then I can help you by, helping you in another subject area, doing something for you, or bartering using money. And, you have, as a user, you have the potential to make this boundless and do whatever you want in terms of the connection and what you barter. It's truly a great app, and it's filling a void that all students do, whether it's talking to a classmate or roommate or someone across the hall. They always ask each other for help. So Stu-Nited really sees an niche market, and they're doing a great job of that. They actually are coming out with some exciting news in which, like I said in previous episodes, they have version 2 coming out. They just released the beta, and it looks flawless, really clean, and they added a bunch of features that the users wanted and that they also saw would be more efficient and better for the user themselves. Some of those things are newsfeed, rate and review system to see if the student is more credible, and a more aesthetic and simplistic layout of the UI. So that is our sponsor, Stu United. If you want to check them out and see the community, they're growing step by step, day by day, you can do so on social media at Stu United App, or even check out their website at StuUnitedApp.com. And that is all, folks. I don't want to prolong this intro, so without further ado, enjoy this episode number 16 with Rob Lawless. I literally want to start by asking, from the get, and like you had the idea in your notes in 2014, and then 2015 you took action. Like, what was the first interaction like, and even the second interaction? Like, were there nerves? Was the other person nervous? Like, how was there doubt there? Like, what was it taking that leap? What was it like?
So the first dude, I was doing tech sales at the time, so like I was used to reaching out to people and like asking for their time randomly. So I wasn't so much nervous about that part, but definitely the first few people when I met with them, I was like, hey, well, shit, I really have nothing to show for this, so I hope that they feel like this is worth their time, because now, like, when people meet with me, they know that their story is going to be shared to a page that has, like, somewhat of a following. It's like they're getting their name out there a little bit, or they just think it's a really cool concept. And I've met with 2,200 people at this point. Amazing. And so they know they're already part of something bigger. But the first few people, like the very first dude I met, and I'd written this in like one of my blogs, he was like, all right, so what number am I? Number 1,000 or 2,000? I was like, no, you're number 1. So, I don't know.
That's amazing.
It still blows my mind to this day that the people were willing to just sit with me for an hour. And I think it was just because I took an interest in them. And some of the early people too were, I would literally Google like Philadelphia artists, and there was this site called In Liquid that came up, and I would just look through the images and be like, that's a cool painting, I'm gonna email that person. And that was how I got like some of the first people. And once I had 8 people, I put it up on Instagram because I just wanted to make sure that I was committed to it. And for each person, those first 8, I still took a picture with all of them, still wrote a bunch of notes down on them. And then once I had 8, I put it up on Instagram, kind of got from there.
So I was gonna ask you, like, in the beginning, it's always the hardest to start. Like, what kept you going? Was it the people that responded, and is it continually the people in the audience you have, or is it something different now? Is it like getting to know people more, personal level? Like, what is it?
In the beginning, it was a lot of, it was just interesting to me. I had wanted to do my own thing, and this was like the first thing that I felt was cool enough to actually work on. And so that just interested me. Like, I would meet someone after work, or I'd meet them on the weekends, and I found that it was making me feel like I was doing something more than just working. Because before, it's like you work your job like 8 to 6 or whatever, and then go home and do like meaningless stuff like watch Jeopardy or play a video game, and then wake back up and do the same thing. And when I started doing this, I was like, oh, it feels cool to have, like, I have to go meet this person after work. And so I had a purpose outside of work. And since then, it's just like, it's just grown in terms of motivation for me to continue doing it. Like, every time I got a piece of press, it'd be like this big bump in just my motivation. Because it's like it's validating that people are paying attention. And then when I started getting messages from people from other countries, that was really cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any plans of like going out there? Like, I was gonna ask you, like, what are your travel plans? Are you just gonna stay in Philly? I know you were in LA at one point, but what are your plans?
My goal was to come back and be in Philly for November and December, and then to start traveling abroad in January. I don't know. It doesn't look like that's going to pan out because I had a potential partnership, which is kind of on hold right now. So I'm thinking I'll be in Philly until the end of February, then back to LA for a little bit. But definitely, like, by the time this project is done, I hope it spans countries all across the world.
You're literally like connecting people.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like you said, human connection was the goal, right? Like learning more about people, you're like literally doing that, so I got to commend you for sure.
Yeah.
I admire it.
I'm going to pull it up because I did this thing, like in 2019, I'm trying to have this challenge of people meeting 12 new people through the year, like one new person each month. And I want to see if I have it on my drive.
I put my email in.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Did you get the...
Yeah, I got the email.
So that little questionnaire that let's see if I can find it here. It's just cool because but anyways, like, I asked people to put what country they're in and stuff. And I was really surprised, like, all the answers, like Pakistan, like Ukraine, South Africa, India.
That's amazing.
So the fact that those people are paying attention and want to go out and meet more people, that right now is like a big motivating factor. Because this is the first time where I feel like the project is spreading outside of me.
Yeah. You feel like it's like paying off, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
I just commend you completely.
Yeah.
And it's like it shows the power of what you're doing, and also like the power of social media in general and like technology to really reach a wider audience of people.
Right.
You know.
Are you familiar with Yes Theory?
100%.
Okay,
Yeah. I love what they're doing.
So I met Matt in May.
Really?
Yeah, and then he just like posted about it on his story that he had met me. And as you can imagine, I got like a ton of messages from that. But then I met Zach, their manager. I met Colin, the Irish dude who just ran with Matt. And, like,
oh, yeah. That was a good video.
If you've ever seen like Tenzo T, I met all those dudes. Houston and Kraft, their one friend. Like, I just met all of their friends. And so I paid attention a lot to what they're doing. And everything that they're doing is like exactly the mindset that I have towards life. And with them bringing people together, like, I love it so much.
Yeah,
and so I see myself starting to do more of that, and eventually probably like collaborating. And
I can already see it 100%.
Yeah.
I saw you were on the Purpose and the Use podcast too. That's pretty popular. I saw they had like Matt Como and like a bunch of other people. That's impressive.
That dude is so. I'm so confident that he's gonna be successful.
Oh, Matt or the Purpose and the Youth?
Bobby from Purpose.
Bobby, yeah.
Because he
has great content.
I have no idea, and he's really good in the same way. Like, he really researches the people. I'm surprised how much he knew of me. And I have that. I link his podcast in my bio just because I think
he does
a
the best
really good job of explaining kind of about my past and like what I'm doing.
Yeah, and like going back to it and like everything you're doing, I wanted to ask, was there ever a time where you did an interview where the person was moved to tears, or like it caused you to be moved to tears, or something very impactful happened at that conversation?
Yeah, I've had several people cry during, and it's weird because I never thought I would be the person who would be able to like sit and be with people as they describe really traumatic things. But it's just happened, and the more I've been there, I've gotten better at just being like, people just want something to hear what they're saying. And the most recent time, she was the second girl that cried that day. The first woman I met with cried, just talking about like how her life has changed. She was, I think she was in like her 40s or 50s. But this other girl, she was 32, and a year ago, on October 28th, her brother was killed by a drunk driver in a car accident. And she was from Brazil, and he had moved from Brazil to live with her, and they were roommates and like best friends. And yeah, she kind of like reached out to me more so to honor his memory than to be part of the project. And like, her dad had been killed by a drunk driver when she was 9, and so it was just heavy. It was very, very heavy. Like, she was crying, I was crying, because I'm 27. Her brother was 28, I think. She's 32. I'm 27. My sister's 33. And like, I was planning to come back to Philly to live with her, and so yeah, that just crushed me. But a couple of other times too. Like, that was the only time that I cried during a meeting. There was another time I went home and just like cried because this woman was telling me about how she had twins, but they were born prematurely, and she got to hold them for like 24 hours before they passed away. I think the things that those ones hit me so hard because I can see how passionate those people are about the things. Like, I've had people tell me like really traumatic stuff, like a kid who, when he was 2 years old, he was sitting in the car and his sister was in there as well, and the story goes, I mean, he doesn't remember it, but that he put the car like in drive, and his mom ran after them to try and like stop it from going, and like fell under the car and got run over by it and was killed by it. And so
That's traumatic.
Yeah. But for some reason, like that didn't make me cry. It's really sad, but I think it's just the emotion that people give off.
Yeah, and like through all that, I feel like you become this like guy who just like is a person to lean on, and you're like a huge listener. I'm sure you like built up great communication skills and all that through like all you do. And one thing I'm working on too is just becoming a better listener, because like the silence that occurs in a conversation, just like being there for someone is really powerful. Yeah. And I'm sure like this is great for you. I think like podcasting is the same thing that I'm doing. It's just I'm not recording it. And you get that person's story, and you're able to learn from them, and you just become a better conversationalist, and you become more comfortable in front of a stranger. Yeah. And I know you mentioned the one thing I really liked was when you went to Penn State, like you used to talk to everyone on campus. And being where you are now, you view like the city as another campus. But I want to ask you, would you say like right now, in keeping your inner child in you, do you view the world as your playground right now, and you're just having fun and talking to people, getting to know people? Yeah, for sure. And I never wanted to be different than that. Like I've always wanted to structure my life like an adventure, and for me this is the biggest adventure that I could go on. It could take me like, I don't know, it's a lot of times I'll be like, how did I get here? From just an idea in my head to being in a plane on the coast of San Diego that a guy had built himself. Like, just crazy stories. You're gonna have a good movie one day, whoever makes it. No, but that leads into the next question I want to actually ask. So there's a quote, it goes, stay committed in your decision, but agile in your approach. So how has like just going with the flow helped you, and like what is it like just like treating life as an adventure? It suits me because I have a really go with the flow personality, and that's an awesome quote because that's exactly how I'm approaching this project. But what was the question? How has it helped me? Or so like I know planning and preparation is important, but like letting things fall. Do you have both sides, or is it more of just like going with the flow and letting things fall into place as they come? It is both. So I will always strive to meet four new people every day, and I know by doing that, like the project's just gonna grow because they're gonna tell their friends about it, and I'm gonna become a better person just by meeting those people. But I never know what one person is going to lead to, so it's like always staying open to what those opportunities could be. And even with monetizing the project to keep going, I've always thought like I'll just get a sponsor for my page, and I'll have them sponsor me on a monthly basis, and eventually it'll be so popular that companies will like compete to sponsor me, which has not happened and may never happen, but that was just the idea. But there was a time when a publication in Philly was like, we want to start featuring some of your stories, and we'll pay you per story. And I was like, okay, well, there's a monetization model, doing it that way. And then it's kind of recently my mindset has gone to speaking about the project at universities. Or I really want to do a freshman seminar on a campus where the students are doing exactly this, like sitting down one-on-one with each other and just spending that time learning and then writing about each other afterwards. Because I think we just expect college students to go in and naturally make friendships right away. But not everyone is extroverted or comfortable with social situations. And so, one, like we're not serving those kids who need that as a skill. And two, there's just so much opportunity to create new relationships that we're not doing by creating an environment for them. 100%. There's so many different paths you can take, and it's just you continually build this. You're building something great, but it's gonna be even greater going forward. In the last few years of my life, I've learned so much about how to be a human being. And it's small stuff too. I can't even like describe what it will be. I can describe it in terms of logistics for the project. Like I've learned so much about the project, how to do it just by doing it. For example,
when I started the project, I was living in Philly. And so I would ride my bike and just lock it up on a pole. Then when I was back September until February last year, I was living at my parents', commuting in from Norristown. And I was like, all right, now I have to deal with parking. And so the only places I would try to park were Locust or Spruce, because I knew they had free 2-hour parking. And I'd be out on like 23rd or 24th in Spruce and then walking this way. But then I realized I could park on Bainbridge just south of South Street. And just the angle was a shorter walk. So a very small, stupid thing that changes the way that I like operated.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the logistics side and like planning side, I'm sure you're like almost a master at that craft, but there's always a continual like learning curve to being a better like communicator and like getting to know people better. Yeah. But it's all an improvement. I love it so much. And then the one thing I wanted to touch on is how has, like, relating it back to, like, when you were younger in a way, because we started at, like, the top, but, like, younger, because with me, I have a huge family. I have 3 brothers. I have a dog, grandpa lives with us. And anything great that comes, like, I'll attribute all that to them. Yeah. And, like, my family's been such a strong pillar in, like, making me the person I am. So I know you're, like, one of two siblings, and then you have like 16 cousins and like a huge family. Like, how important is that massive family to the person you are, and what have they given you, and like characteristics? Oh yeah, it's huge. My sister's 33, my brother's 29, no, I'm 27, so I'm the youngest of 3. And my parents, like, they just gave us a stable upbringing, which I've realized is such a huge luxury in life. Like, they are still married, live in the house that we grew up in. They had it built when they got married. Wow. And like, I didn't have to work when I went to college. I had student loans when I graduated, but I wasn't someone who had to split trying to become a good student with trying to support myself. And all of my cousins too. I'm the youngest boy of 16 cousins. The girl is also my age, so we're the 2 like youngest. They all like did well in life, like have really nice spouses, kids. That's awesome. Yeah, and so I've just been shown the way to go which is huge, because like you think about it at your home life, some people aren't shown that. Some people are shown like broken homes and stuff. And they can still be like really successful, but they have to kind of unravel what they've learned and push past that. Yeah. I think it's amazing for those people who have tough upbringings but still end up going way past their expectations and like their potential. Yeah. Like it might be easy to say for someone like us who has like a stable upbringing, but people to go past like all the traumatizing events in their early life is like pretty amazing. I'm sure you get like crazy stories about that as well. Yeah. Early trauma and like rough childhood. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's inspiring too. Sometimes you can just be complaining about things that don't actually matter, or there's so much more room for you to push yourself. And then lastly, the one thing we always end up talking about in the podcast, and I'm sure like your goal is very out there and very obvious, but I'll still ask it, is what is one big dream you have, and then what actions are you taking to get there? The dream is to meet 10,000 people for 1 hour each, which is just part of a bigger dream of creating my own path in life. And the steps to get there right now, because one is just meeting the people, which is a part of the project. The other thing, which right now I'm doing, is starting to reach out to, like, this just started within the last week. I wrote down 100 press sources, and I'm going to identify 100 companies. And it's like reaching out to the press to be like, I have this story, would you be interested in covering it? And then the company is like, I have this story, would you be interested in partnering or sponsoring? Because I think success for me to continue going is a lot of different pieces that all need to come together. I think eventually I could fall back on just meeting people and not being interesting enough, but I don't have like the money to last me the time that it would take to do that. Crafting your life to It's like you said, make it your living. So you're doing just that.
And then the other piece is that like starting to create somewhat of a movement of it, trying to like spill the project over outside of just me.
Yeah.
I almost believe you have to be selfish in the pursuit of a passion, because there are going to be times when no one else really cares about it, and if you don't care about it in that time, like if you only care about it because other people care about it, it won't make it.
Exactly.
And I think about that with musicians. I feel like I've always heard successful musicians say they just love the music that they're working on so much that it attracts other people to it.
Yeah, our one slogan with the brand we're building, Dream Big & Co., is improve yourself, impact lives. So it's like putting on your oxygen mask first so you can actually assist others in the best way possible.
Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Anthony here. I just wanted to interrupt real quick and let you know what's going on for the rest of the episode. At this point, it was a little choppy because he was talking to me, I was talking to him. We were both trying to get a lot from each other, and I talked a lot about myself. And the point is to get the most out of Rob. So there was a lot of editing involved here, and we had to move around some things. But I just want to let you know some things may be out of order in terms of flow of the conversation, but that's totally fine because he does put things in the best context possible, and we really get to the root of what's most important. So I just wanted to give you a little public service announcement, let you know about what's going on for the next 20 minutes of the episode. But besides that, have a great listening experience and enjoy.
I'm close with both my siblings. Like, my sister was always just a different phase of life than my brother and I. And he and I are 19 months apart. So he was always 2 grades above me. And I don't know, I learned a lot from him. He has been like a huge support for me in this project. To the point where he's like written me checks for rent over Christmas.
Really?
His car is the car that I drive. He paid it off, left it with me, and then I drove it to LA. It had 20,000 miles when he left it with me. It now has 65,000 on it.
Wow.
And it's still like his car. But I think he's always just believed in me, and I think he knows that someday whatever success I find through this is going to come back to him in some way.
Yeah, you'll pay a dividend to him in a sense.
Yeah.
Like I always talk about that with my parents, and like same thing with my brothers. Whatever they do, it's like I want to end up paying them back for all they've done for me. And like this stuff with what your brother does and like my family, I feel like they just do it because it's just like how it is. It's just family.
Yeah.
And like they would do it regardless, you know. And they wouldn't expect anything back.
Yeah.
But it's just like the way we were raised. It's like it's what we'll do when any type of success comes.
Right.
Yeah. But I was gonna ask you, like, what do your parents and like family say about everything you're doing? Like, do they like joke around a lot about it, or?
It's kind of like, so I come from like a really traditional family, and I think my parents, like, my sister was working at a marketing agency, and my brother was doing consulting for PwC, and I graduated and started doing consulting for Deloitte. And despite having just graduated, my salary was higher than my brother and my sister. And I think my parents were like, all 3 of the kids are good. They're good to go. Like, we can breathe easy. They made it through college. They got great jobs. They'll go get spouses, houses, whatever. And then I was like, I'm not really liking Deloitte, so I'm going to leave to go to this tech startup. And I'm going to have to pay back a bonus that I got. And I'm going to take a pay cut. And my mom just couldn't understand why I would do that. And also, Deloitte was going to pay for me to get my MBA from like Wharton or one of like top 10 schools. Yeah.
Wow.
And I just left that all on the table and went to this tech startup. And I enjoyed working there. But they were bought out and I was laid off. And I remember my mom asking me like, well, did this turn out how you expected it? Kind of like, you should have stayed at Deloitte.
Yeah.
And I told her, no, it didn't turn out how I expected, but I love how it turned out because now I have this project that I'm really passionate about that I can work on. And I think in my brother, like I said, he's always been a support. So from the start, financially, emotionally, he's always been there for me. My parents, I was still living in Philly, but I'd go back home for dinners. And like my parents and my sister would always give me these stern looks like I wasn't understanding life or something like that. to be like, you need to snap out of your dream world and get back into a job because you're hurting yourself by not working towards your career. And I think that they didn't know how committed I was. Like, they probably thought I was going to do it for 6 months and then be like, oh, I'm tired of this and now I'm going to go back and then be screwed. But ever since then, and I'm still in a place where I'm dragging them along to be like, just wait, like, once we get there, the view's going to be amazing. You just have to keep walking with me.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah.
Exactly. You couldn't have put it better. Holy crap, I like that. Can you say that again?
Once we get there, the view's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Just, oh man, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's so true. So like, going through that and like getting a lot of kind of like hate and like rejection from them in a sense, was it like, did you just trust the entire process, and was it like a belief in yourself the entire time? Because I know, relating it back to the beginning we were talking, you said like you have to have faith in what you're doing before anyone else. So was it more of like that?
Yeah, I think
in the beginning.
I'm just like a very internally driven person, and so kind of like when I set my mind to something, I know I'm gonna do it. And when people don't think that I can do it, it's like, I think there's so many stories of people just being like, it makes me work harder to prove people wrong. And that's not to say like, I've lived with my parents from September until February of last year, and I've lived with them for the last month. And so emotionally, I feel like there are times when they could be better, but they've taken me back in. Like, my mom feeds me every night and does my laundry, and so they've been there in that sense much more than like any other family would be for them. But yeah, it's just this thing, and I feel like I can see the end of this and how it plays out and why it's so beneficial. And I want to get to that point because I think it's possible, and I've had, for me, validation along the way that it's going towards that point. Like, having met the guys from Yes Theory and like Matt sharing it and them sharing it to their Instagram, and like getting messages from people around the world. And in July, I did a phone interview with Ryan Seacrest. I was on his morning show for like 5 minutes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
In my mind, I'm like, no one in their right mind would get on Ryan Seacrest's morning show and be like, oh, it's not working out, so I should stop.
Yeah.
Like, every year it just gets bigger and bigger.
So 2 things I extracted from that I want to ask real quick. Is, are you a person to have any like absurd or like weird, odd signs that guide you in a way? Like, for example, like I know when the times get rough, was it like you saw like 11:11 and it was like, all right, that's a good sign, I got to keep going? Or was it just like, you just talked about like, oh, Ryan Seacrest, how can I give up now? You know what I mean?
I definitely had weird signs.
Yeah.
I had, because this summer, like, I was trending towards having $0 in my bank account, and I had to book a flight from LA to Kentucky for a friend's bachelor party. And I booked the flight for both me and my roommate, and I was just trying to do it quickly to get the cheapest price. And I ended up booking it for May 20th instead of June 20th. And so I got a notification on May 19th that was like, check in for your flight, and ended up having to pay $400, $200 change fee per person. And it was my fault, so I was going to ask my roommate to pay that money. And so I just messed up, and I remember that night, and I grew up Catholic, and I remember that night laying in bed and just being like, all right, God, I don't need money. Like, but I do need a sign that I should continue going down this path. And the next day, out of the blue, a girl that I had met in LA who lives in Scotland, we had talked about my favorite song. She was like, she, inspired by my project, was trying to meet 100 people and collecting their favorite songs. And so I told her Banana Pancakes by Jack Johnson.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song. And she messaged me a picture of a menu, and it had banana pancakes on it, and I was like, oh, that's nice, that's cool. And the only response she had was a sign, exclamation point. And I was like, all right, well, keep going.
There you go, yeah.
And then a week later, I got an email that said potential paid partnership, and that was a partnership that I had in July that gave me money to continue going.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, there is one thing to like leave it off with. Is there's this one guy I really admire. His name's Tyrone Mara. He's striving to go to the 2020 Olympics.
Okay.
And he always talks about, because he's basically following his dreams, he's going out on a limb and like taking a leap of faith to do this, and it's like a lot of shit he has to go through to get there. And he always talks about like the longer you hold on, the greater the reward's going to be. So like you said, like the longer this hike up the mountain is, the greater the view is going to be.
Yeah.
So you just keep holding on. I think
So
something good's going to happen. I can already see like you're not a person to get attached to like things.
Mm-hmm.
What is like, how do you go through life? I'll ask two questions.
Sure.
So like what's your main like motto going through life if you had to pick one? And then also, what is like one of the most important things you learned through 2+ years and 2,200 people later?
Sure. It changes, I feel like, over the summer and even a little bit now. It's like the end is never the end, which is actually from a Kid Cudi song. But that has helped me a lot because I think with anything that you're doing, it can feel like there's an end, but really the only end is you quitting, like you starting this podcast and this brand. Like the only end is if you choose to do something else. Otherwise, if everything that you do serves the purpose of building this, it's going to keep building.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes for, it's more so like a hardship, like getting through hardship. The biggest thing is that no one knows what they're doing in life. Everyone's just doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. And so for me, that looks like taking advantage of a roommate in LA who was willing to host me, and a brother's car that I was able to drive across the country. Like those are resources that I had. Other people might not have them, so they couldn't. Like you probably couldn't go to LA today and stay for a year for free and have a car to get out there. But I was just gifted those in my life. But I still have no idea. Like if you ask me how I'm gonna make money and survive as a human being doing this project, I don't know. I don't know the answer. And I think realizing that no one else really knows the answers made me a lot more comfortable with not knowing them myself. And in a weird way, has just made me a more confident person. It's when you figure out that it's just the blind leading the blind. All you have to do is raise your hand and be like, oh, I know what I'm doing. Like, that dude knows what he's doing. Yeah.
It's like that. It's trying not to be cliche. It's like Steve Jobs saying the world is made up by people like no smarter than you. Like you create your own thing. But like in a way, tying those two things together, I find myself at a point where I'm so engrossed in just the journey itself and not focusing on the end goal. I feel like that's when you really like lock into something special. Like would you say like you're really just solely focused on the present moment because you don't know where this is going to end up? Like you will meet 10,000 people and it might go even further in something greater, but do you find yourself just like fully ingrained in the journey itself?
Pretty much. I feel like I'm operating within a framework, and that framework is like this goal to meet 10,000 people. And so like I know I'm going to do that, and I'm just on this path to doing that. And I'm not focused on, I think a lot of people have asked me what's the end goal of this project. I'm like, I don't know. The end goal is to get to 10,000 and look back and be like, that was awesome. That was a lot of fun. And I think focusing on the present is huge, because sometimes you have to do that too out of necessity, because sometimes the future, for a while for me, the future was having absolutely no money in the bank account, so focusing on the present was like, well, I can eat now, like I have money in my bank account now, so why should I worry about a time when I don't, because that time may never come, even though it looks like it could.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and what we are doing at Dream Big & Co., it would mean a tremendous amount if you can become more involved with the community, join us in what we're doing, and you can do so by subscribing to this podcast on all of the 10 podcasting platforms we have, our channel on YouTube at Dream Big & Co., and follow us on social media at Dream Big & Co. That will all be in the show notes. Stuff about Rob will all be in the show notes. All his things you would definitely want to check out. And lastly, we ultimately do this for you to add value to your lives. So if there's anything you like, dislike, hate, like, love, anything, whatever synonym you want to use, or you want changed with anything at all, please rate this episode and leave a review. You can even email us at dreambigpodcast@gmail.com or dreambigandco@gmail.com. Thank you and have a fabulous week.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.